The United States, though a global superpower and beacon of innovation, faces a myriad of internal challenges threatening its social fabric, economic vitality, and democratic foundations. Addressing these issues head-on requires bold leadership, policy reform, and collective citizen action. Below are 8 of the most pressing problems facing the nation, the effects they produce, and proposed solutions to address them. Income inequality. The problem. The gap between the wealthy and the rest of society has widened dramatically. CEOs earn hundreds of times more than the average worker, and millions of Americans struggle to afford basic necessities. Effects: shrinking middle class, reduced economic mobility, increased homelessness and poverty, social unrest and political division. Solution: tax reforms that close loopholes for the ultra-wealthy, a living wage tied to inflation, universal access to affordable childcare, education, and housing, strengthened labor unions and worker protections, healthcare access and affordability. The problem. The U.S. spends more on healthcare per capita than any other country, yet millions remain uninsured or underinsured. Effects: medical bankruptcies, poor health outcomes for low-income communities, mental health and addiction crises left untreated. Solution: expand Medicare or implement a universal public option, negotiate drug prices and cap pharmaceutical costs, invest in preventative care and mental health infrastructure, reform medical billing transparency and hospital charges, climate change and environmental degradation. The problem. Rising global temperatures, extreme weather events, and pollution continue to escalate, with the U.S. being a major contributor. Effects: more frequent wildfires, droughts, and floods, public health hazards from pollution, loss of biodiversity, and agricultural disruption. Solution: enforce strong emissions regulations, transition to renewable energy sources, invest in green jobs and sustainable infrastructure, rejoin and lead international climate agreements, gun violence, and public safety. The problem. The U.S. experiences more gun deaths per capita than any other developed nation, including mass shootings in schools, workplaces, and communities. Effects: increased mortality and trauma, economic losses from crime and medical costs, erosion of public trust in safety and institutions. Solution: universal background checks, red flag laws, and bans on assault weapons, funding for community-based violence prevention programs, mental health support for at-risk individuals. Political polarization and misinformation. The problem. America is sharply divided politically, fueled by misinformation, disinformation, and a lack of trust in institutions. Effects: legislative gridlock, increased extremism and violence, distrust in elections and democratic processes. Solution: media literacy education, campaign finance reform to reduce dark money, independent redistricting commissions, regulation of social media platforms to curb misinformation. Failing public education system. The problem. Many public schools are underfunded, particularly in low-income areas, leading to achievement gaps and poor long-term outcomes. Effects: low literacy and graduation rates, reduced economic opportunities, a workforce unprepared for future jobs. Solution: equitable school funding across districts, universal pre-K and after-school programs, investment in teacher salaries and training, curricula that emphasize digital skills, civics, and critical thinking. Affordable housing crisis. The problem: home prices and rents have skyrocketed, outpacing wages and making housing unaffordable for millions. Effects: rising homelessness, displacement and gentrification, strained social services. Solution: zoning reform to allow for affordable housing development, rental assistance and tenant protections, public housing investment, incentives for green modular housing construction, systemic racism and social injustice. The problem. Structural racism persists in policing, housing, education, and employment, disproportionately affecting Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Effects: higher incarceration and poverty rates among minorities, educational and health disparities, civil unrest and societal division. Solution: criminal justice reform, including sentencing and policing practices, economic development in underserved communities, equal access to education and healthcare, diversity and equity initiatives in public and private sectors. A call to action. The United States stands at a crossroads. These 8 critical problems are interconnected and cannot be solved in isolation. However, with data-driven policy, civic engagement, and a renewed sense of national unity, solutions are within reach. Citizens, policymakers, and institutions must work collaboratively to build a more equitable, sustainable, and prosperous future for all. Samuel Alexander, CEO of C2, C Fashion and Technology. Please like and share below.